The panel interview, what to expect and how to prepare. My name is Bill Benoist. I'm a certified professional career coach here in Silicon Valley, and this is one of the most common questions I'm asked by my clients. So let me give you some tips and strategies on preparing for the panel interview. Number one, and this is probably the most important, but it's not something that happens all the time. However, if you are provided the names of the individuals that are going to be interviewing you prior to the panel interview, make sure that you research them, look them up on LinkedIn, try to learn as much as you can about these individuals, and also just look to see if there's any commonalities between their profile and what you have. Maybe it's connections that you have, maybe it's a school that you went to, maybe it's some groups that you belong to. Look for any kind of commonalities there, because when it all boils down to this, and we talk a little bit more about it as we progress in this video, it's more about compatibility than it is about your competence. And I've said this many times before, but oftentimes you are being interviewed by other team members in a panel interview. These are people, these are players that are going to be on your team, and they want to make sure that there's compatibility there. But with that said, they're also going to be asking questions that may be a little bit more technical or operational, depending upon what the domain is that you're interviewing in. But they're going to be asking questions from their specialty. So, with a hiring manager, they may be offering or asking behavioral type of questions. Oh, tell me a little bit about yourself, or what do you think your biggest weakness is? What was one of your biggest achievements, in your last work? But the individuals that will be interviewing you, they're going to be a little bit more down to earth and asking you specifics there. So it's a great time to really shine, with your technical and operational ability. Just keep in mind that they're coming from their own world when they're asking these questions. Actually, I had a client just a couple of weeks ago who went through a panel interview. She was interviewing for an HR position. So there was a couple of other HR individuals on the interview, and then there was the hiring manager, and then there was actually one person from the IT department. And guess what the person from the IT department was wanting to know? Well, what kind of experience do you have with applications in the HR realm of things? What are the applications that you used in your last position in HR? These are the kind of questions that you can likely face. So you want to make sure that you have your stories correct. And one of the best ways to do this is just go bullet point by bullet point by bullet point down your resume and make sure that you have a story, a situation, an obstacle, or whatever your responsibility was, an action you took, and the results that came about it. It's going to help a lot. And I've got some other videos on creating these kind of stories and behavioral type stories. I'll link it in the upper right corner. Even if you are not able to find out the person's name before the interview, you're going to know their names during the interview, whether it's in person or it's over video. Make sure that you use these names. Everybody loves to hear their name. It's a great way, again, to get into rapport. When you're meeting these individuals, make sure that you have a warm smile or, even a wave when you are on camera there. Again, it's not going to be uncommon, especially nowadays, to be having this panel interview over video. If it is in person, however, then I want you to make sure that you are looking at the individual when they are asking the question. Don't focus all your attention on the hiring manager. You want to equally focus it around the room as individuals are asking you questions or the way you're answering the questions. Another little trick here, somebody asks you a question and you answer it, and then a couple of questions later somebody else asks you a question. If you can tie your answer to a previous individual, then do that, because it all shows that you are listening and that you're remembering, and again, it creates that amount of rapport. Well, as I was mentioning to Gary, one of the things that we did in my last position was So you're going back to this individual here, but answering this individual's question in a new light. And again, balance your questions and answers together. This is a mutual conversation back and forth. And finally, the last thing that I want to talk about, and again, this is if we're over video, but I want you to be aware of 4 things, and we'll just call them A, B, C, and D. A is the ambience of the entire environment that you're creating. And what I mean by ambience is I'm talking about well lit, camera is at the right angle, you're looking into the camera. Please, keep this in mind. Don't be looking at the screen when you're answering questions. Look at the camera, because especially if your camera is in one spot and your screen is at the other, or what's something that recently happened with me is the individual had her photo on the left side of the screen and then everybody on the right side of the screen. And what she was doing is she would be looking like this or like this rather than looking at the camera. And it was just very, very awkward. And she couldn't even tell this herself. So what I did was I made her go full screen, and then she had just a little block of herself in the upper top. So ambience. The other one is background. Okay, make sure that you've got a nice, good background. No windows in the back. Windows will cause a lot of shade with you. So again, prepare in advance your background. The C is just clutter. Stands for clutter. Make sure that you don't have any clutter. Be well organized here. What they will be seeing is what they may think of as what your desk would look like. When everything around you is cluttered, it really looks disorganized. And again, you want to come off as professional. Remember this, I am a professional. I have no problems. I create no problems, and I'm here to solve all of your problems. First step, you need to be a professional. And then finally, D, distractions. Make sure that you are in a quiet zone. Turn off your cell phone. Turn off the alerts. This is really important. If you're on a video call, make sure that you turn off any alerts that may come up, because one of the most frustrating things is you're talking to somebody and all of a sudden they hear ding. So you want to turn off your alerts, turn off your phone, close your door. Make sure everybody is quiet. Hopefully you're not going to have anybody come and knock on the door and ring doorbell. I've had that happen many times before when I've been on one-on-one call and I'm getting a shipment from Amazon or so. But you want to try to minimize the distractions as much as possible. The takeaway though, the main takeaway that I want you to walk away from with this: your resume validated your competence. The interview validates your compatibility. And a lot of times, again, the people that are going to be interviewing you on a panel are often going to be some of your coworkers, and they're looking for compatibility.